Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, students, friends, and family, welcome to episode 88 of the Teacher Emilio podcast. I'm your host, Teacher Emilio. Today, we're going to talk a bit about music, life in Australia, and basically how we can pursue our own projects. And I told you that good interviews would come, and here we've got someone who's quite big in the Latin community. So let's welcome Karen. Hello, Karen. Welcome.
Hi, Emilio. Thanks for having me. I'm very excited to be here. Thank you.
Well, look, let's talk a little bit about basically you, how you've, let's say developed your brand. And one of the reasons I wanted to bring you in is because I think you've got a really inspiring story. I'm not going to tell, I'm gonna save it for later. I did that in the last episode. Anyways, but you basically developed your career in Australia in relation to music, right?
Yes.
Could you tell us a bit about that?
Yes. So I came to Australia, I think it was in 2012, and I studied music. So I studied communication and media back in Venezuela, but I always loved to sing. So I always said, I'm going to be a singer. And when I decided to come to Melbourne, I said, this is my time to sing. I don't want to study. I don't want to do a master's in communications or whatever. I just want to do music. So I studied music for 2 years.
No way.
Yes. And I loved it. It was so much fun. I met really cool people. And it was, I was doing music 24/7, basically. Not 24/7, but, a lot.
Look, something that, I think it will be a really good way to get started. Something that happened to me is that I studied accounting in university, and you guys know it. And then I decided to become an English teacher, and I had a bit of a backlash from friends and family being like, oh, but you're an accountant, you should be, doing something with Excel. I'm just wondering in your case, because while you're saying that you liked music,
Yes.
but you came and you pursued something a bit different. Did you have a bit of, funny comments, or how was that when you said, I'm going to come and do music?
Okay, so in my case, it was like the opposite because music has been always big in my family. My mom was a musician and she quit music to be a journalist. In my case, I said, well, I live in Venezuela and I want to study something that is going to give me money. That's always the case. Like I have to study something that is going to give me money because music won't give you money. You're going to be poor your whole life and blah, blah, blah. But my parents never pushed me to do anything. My mom said, you can study whatever you want as long as you're happy. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do communications. And she was like, what? So I studied communication thinking I'm going to learn all the things that I need to make myself a musician because I already sing. So I know how to sing, but I can make a music video. I can, learn about how to promote myself if I study communications, and that's what I did. And it worked because after I graduated, before as well, I was pushing myself to get higher as a singer, like using social media and all my knowledge. So I didn't have any bad comments when I decided to study music. My family was like, yeah, you should have done that before.
Oh, cool. So,
yeah.
Okay, so in that it's a bit of the opposite.
It
It's
was
more
the
like,
opposite.
oh, you should have done music anyways.
Yes,
okay,
exactly.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm very lucky in that sense because although so many people were like, well, but you should do a master's because, it's going to make you a better professional and blah, blah, blah. But I was like, no, like I'm changing my whole life and I want to be, fluent in music as I am in communications. So that's what I did.
Oh, awesome. And I think
Yeah.
a good plus is that, I'm sure you will agree, is that after being in Australia for so long, you come to realize that it is not like in South America or other parts of the world where whatever you study is not necessarily, you're not fixated into that box,
Yeah.
but you could basically have different hats.
Yes, and I love that. I love that no one judges you here. Everyone's like, oh, that's so cool. And I think everyone can do whatever they like. And that's something that I really appreciate of this country. Because like I said, in Venezuela or their belief, maybe it's a limiting belief, I don't know, but you would have a low income. Like if you're a musician, you end up being like a teacher or something like that. And usually it's not a well-paid job. That's why people would tell you, oh, you're going to be poor, you're not going to get money. But in this country, thankfully, you can do whatever you want and you still earn an appropriate salary, I would say.
Oh,
So
nice.
that's what I think.
Yeah, it may not be like, I mean, quick disclaimer, may not mean that you'll be the next Ed Sheeran, Shakira,
No,
but you
no.
could make a living, you know?
Yeah. And that's what you want. Like, of course, like if you have big dreams, I used to want, like before I wanted to be Britney Spears. That was my dream. I'm going to be like Britney Spears. But it's not about that. It's about like following your passion. And if you can do it, even if it's a little bit, I think I would consider myself really lucky, which I do, because I get to do something I love. Not every day, but they pay me for it. And that's something important.
You know, being in 2024, I mean, I want to come back to your story, but I'm just curious because, I mean, probably this was, you know, some time ago. When you said, okay, I'm going to pursue music, first of all, you said people that told you, oh, you should do a master's. Look, excuse my ignorance. I don't know, maybe other people may have the same question. What is the name of the qualification? Is it like a music diploma or?
Okay, I did a bachelor's in contemporary music. It's called Bachelor of Contemporary Music Performance. So it was more like focus on performance, like more like the technical part of being a singer, or
Oh, cool. And that's interesting because sometimes, I mean, for people that may not know much, it's like, oh yeah, you're just naturally talented and that's it. But
I think everyone has a talent, right? But you have to work on that talent to become better. So singing or music is like you need to study. Like, for example, you are born with the talent or not. In my case, I always knew I wanted to sing. So I know I have the voice. But when I started to sing, I was horrible. I would sound horrible. So I was like, okay, no, I need to do something about it. And then my mom took me to singing lessons. And that's how I learned. Like, okay, I have to improve. I have to do this. I have to do that. And always, like, I think you have to keep studying to be great. So, yeah.
Nice. Look, you also mentioned an interesting point, which is that you, ever since you came to Australia, you said, look, I'm coming to a new country. I might as well start following my passion. And it is something that I mentioned in a previous episode. And I'll give you a super quick recap. A student said to me, look, Emilio, I'm really passionate when it comes to architecture, but should I do that or do something else that may give me PR quicker? And, you know, lots of our listeners are trying to either stay in Australia or thinking of coming to Australia. So I'm just curious, when it comes to that, you didn't have many problems in terms of, you know, because sometimes obviously we may want to choose that, but how was that in terms of deciding to do music?
So I was torn between music and communication. So I said, well, maybe I should do a master's because I can always sing. I will always sing. That's what I said to myself. I will always sing no matter what I do or what I study. And then I said, well, what if I study music? I still want to do it. So I will have both careers. They complement each other. So I didn't have problem choosing. I was like, okay, I'm going to do music. But I started as everyone, as a student. So I was meant to come for like 2 years and then come back to my country, and I never did. And then we decided to apply for the residency, for the PR.
That's a bold move, saying, okay, I'm just going to do what I like and then I come back home. Wow.
Yeah, because I had my dream job back in Venezuela. I had the best job ever. So I was like, okay, I'm going for 2 years. I'll do music. I'll come back. I'll have both of my careers. I'll be so happy. And then I'll work here. But then Venezuela, you know what happened.
Yeah, look, I'm a bit in shock. I'm trying not to, you know, get too surprised, but that's amazing. Wow.
Yeah, we changed our mind at the end. We decided to stay. But yeah, we applied for the PR at the end because my husband, he was doing a master's. So because he was doing a master's, we could apply for the PR.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, so that's what we did. And I joined his visa later on.
So basically, okay, so we know that you came to Australia. It sounds like music has always been part of your life.
Yes.
And that you've always enjoyed singing. Is it fair to say that, you know, maybe up to the point before you came to Australia or when you got here, it was a hobby, but then you wanted to keep working on your craft?
Yes, correct.
Then, okay, so, and when it comes to like making a decent living, could you tell us a bit about, I don't know, maybe any jobs you had, or how was that? How did you get started in the local market? Because I feel like this is something that, you know, our listeners will be interested in knowing. Like, okay, it is amazing that you may be talented, you like something, but then it's like, okay, how do we get started?
Yeah, so this is something that I'm going to repeat my whole life. Like in your podcast, everywhere I go, I talk about this. And it's related to my business as well. We're going to talk about it later. But it's developing your personal brand. I've always known that if I promote myself, like you're your own cheerleader, so you have to push yourself, you have to get out there and tell everybody what you like to do. What's your passion? You have to tell everybody, like, hi, I'm Emilio. I'm an IELTS teacher or whatever. Like, wherever I go, I'll be, hi, I'm Karen. Yeah. When I get to know someone, I always talk about like what they do and I ask some questions. They will always ask me, what do you do? And I'll be, I'm a singer. And when you tell people what you love to do, like more doors open. So that's how I started. Well, first of all, I studied music. So I did kind of like networking with my peers, you know, getting to know each other. But I decided that I had to find gigs. And how am I going to do that? No one knows me. I'm from a different country. So I use my social media to promote myself. And that's a big thing to do. Like some people like think it's underrated, but it's not. So you have to use your social media to promote yourself. I think it's very important. So I started posting videos, you know, tagging Australia, Melbourne, Australian singer, I don't know. And then getting to know people from my, let's say, my environment. Oh, what do you do? I don't know. I am a PR person. I work at a bar. Oh, in your bar, like, do they do live music? Because I sing. I could sing. Are you a bartender? Yeah. Well, can you give me the number of your manager? And I'll just text them. And, you know, you have to put yourself out there and just think that no one knows you yet, but you have to be your own promoter and, yeah, start telling people what you do. That's the best thing.
Wow. You know, this reminds me when I tell students in class, I mean, it's obviously it's a serious tip, but it's similar to what you said, like, oh, you gotta, and when I say this, sometimes always with a bit of a laugh, you know, I use humor a lot in class and I say, hey guys, you gotta go print 20 resumes, go ask for the manager. And, you know, half of the class goes blank. It's like, I don't want to do that. And I'm like, look, trust me, I hated it too. After 2 or 3 rejections, you start getting used to it. And
yeah, and you never know who's going to be listening. Like, let me be real. Like, you are talking to Emilio, but that someone else might be next to Emilio listening to that conversation. And that person could be your next big job. Because that's what happened to me. Like, I'm not necessarily, you know, your friend, but then I'm a friend of a friend. And if they know what you do, you might get their job. That's what happened. Like, that's always the case when I'm going to sing. When I find really cool gigs, it's because someone is a friend of a friend. And you have to promote yourself. I know it's like for some people could be like really confronting, but once you get used to it, you pass that awkward phase, you are going to understand that it's so important. Just like tell people what you do or what you like to do, because that's another thing. Maybe you're not doing it right now. Maybe you're not where you want to be. But when you start telling people, this is what I want to do, they will remember and they will tell you, okay, this person does that. When they hear something that you're good for, they'll be like, oh, I know someone who can do that job. And that's how you get the job.
That's crazy good. Okay, so first hidden gem of the episode. And now, you know, with this, let's say, networking recommendation type of approach, do you have any highlights or something that, or let's say one of those maybe first early gigs that you remember that you got through posting in social media or maybe interacting with people?
Yeah, so this is a big story I always tell, and it's believe in yourself. I know it sounds like so cheesy, but like if you practice it, good things happen. Yeah, so I was studying, I was new. Remember, I'm from Venezuela. I studied with all Aussie. Like everyone was Australian in my class except one Colombian guy. So I was the only Latin in my, I would say, school. I think, yeah, I was the only Latin girl at my school. And here comes the St. Kilda Festival. St. Kilda Festival is a big event here in Melbourne. It's in Feb. And I was like, oh my God, should I apply, you know, to sing at this place? And then everyone told me, oh, it's so hard to get in. You know, it's like you have to have like the perfect single, like the perfect website and everything. But I already had my website because I knew from very early age that I have to have my digital presence. So I had my website with pictures and covers and everything. And I said, well, I'm just going to apply. They will say no, of course. Why would they accept me? And my friends apply as well. And after, I would say, a week or so, I get the email. I was yeah, I was approved. And I was like,
No way.
what? And I was so nervous because it was the first big gig in Australia. I think I was like, I don't know, 5-6 months here. And I was like, oh my goodness, I'm going to do this. I have to find who's going to play with me. And I wasn't on the main stage, which I would love to do, but no, I was in something called Live and Local. So you would sing at different spots from the festival. And I was so nervous. None of my friends, which I think they were amazing, talented, they didn't get it. I got it. Me, the foreigner, you know, the Latina, I got the gig. And I was like, oh, and everyone was shocked. They were like, oh my God, amazing. You have to do this. You have to do that. So believing in myself. Well, I wasn't believing in myself. I just risked it. I was like, oh, they're not going to call me. But I still took a chance. And I said, well, the worst thing that could happen is like nothing happened, you know. So I'm just gonna apply for it.
This is just crazy, and it sounds like one of those memories that you really cherish.
Yeah,
I mean,
yes.
we can tell. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And you know, when I listened to you at the beginning, I thought that's so interesting because it reminded me. I'll say something to everybody is that I did one semester in Japan, and something similar to me happened to you. I heard from a friend also from Colombia, funny enough. I love my Colombians. And then, I said, there is no point in applying. I gave like a 5-minute TED talk saying there is no way we're going to get accepted. But my friend is like, Emilio, who cares? It's free. Just apply.
Yeah.
Long story short, I applied and I got accepted. And I managed to go to Japan and it was amazing. And I kept studying Japanese. Funny enough, and the reason I tell you this is because it clicks in with what you said. It's like sometimes you may not believe in yourself, but you just never know. It may happen.
Yeah, just risk it. I would say risk it even if you think it's really difficult, because what happens is we usually are too hard on ourselves. Like all the time. Everyone's like this. Like whatever you think it's average, for someone else is incredible. So that's why we have to remember like, oh, I think this is easy. Like most of the time, I'm like, this is so easy. Who's going to need this? Many people. So think about that. Like maybe for you it's average. Maybe your talent is so common, but for other people it's not. So I would say risk it even if you think you're not going to get it.
And I'm going to add up to what you mentioned of putting yourself on social media. I'll tell an interesting story that, I think I haven't mentioned anywhere, so nice and fresh.
Cool.
One time, look, I've got a few videos on YouTube, and in one video, or basically, sorry, let me just go back. I started focusing a bit more on Instagram because I thought it's more manageable. And then I had someone random, let's say student X. And this person messaged me saying, hi, teacher, I want some classes. And I said, sure, how can I help? And this person said to me, look, I want you to teach me Japanese. And
Really?
and I said, wait a minute. I looked at my Instagram and I've got nothing where I mention Japan or Japanese, but I had my link to my YouTube channel. And I asked this person, hey, look, I would love to help you, blah, blah, blah. Tell me a bit about yourself. And then I said in class, I'm just really curious. I can help you with Japanese, but how do you know that I speak Japanese? And because I never put that on Instagram, and you messaged me on Instagram, I said, oh yeah, but I watched all your YouTube videos.
Oh my God, yes.
And in one video, you said you speak Japanese, and I'm in Japan, you're Latino, I'm Latino, boom.
Wow.
So I thought,
crazy.
that's so crazy. So you just never know what could happen.
Yeah.
So
believe in yourself, because like I tell it to myself when I'm like, oh no, I'm not gonna do this, and then I do something, and then when I get out of my comfort zone, I know this is cheesy, everyone talks about this, but it is true. If you get out of your comfort zone, then you start seeing good things happening, or like things that you thought, oh no, this is so like far away, they happen. Like really cool things happen. So try, risk it, and that's what I did. And that was one of the best memories I had from like when I started living in Australia. I was like, okay, first of all, they pay me for that gig. Second of all,
that's amazing.
Yeah.
I think you would have done it for free. Is it?
Yeah, 100%. But I got paid. I did something I loved. I got to share it with my friends at the time, and I got to get to know new people, which is really cool. So, get the chance. Like take the chance on yourself and do what you love. I think that's my main.
It sounds like this
advice.
is, well, you basically started this way, and then did you like continue posting, or it was more like maybe, I don't know, like the owners of bars or restaurants would contact you on a regular basis?
So I've always posted on social media, like I said, promoting myself. Like, this is what I do. DM me, or I had like High Five, MySpace, all these, all social media, Facebook, whatever. So I pushed a lot on Instagram when I came to Australia because I realized that it was really cool. But Australians didn't use Instagram as much. They were all about Facebook. And I was like, oh, Facebook is so like old school,
That's so Gen X.
Yeah. And I was like, I need to then push my Facebook. So I started doing both. And because at uni, they actually helped us a lot to go to bars. So one of our, what's the name for it? When they get to evaluate you. I don't know the word.
Like assessors?
The assessment. One of our assessments were at bars singing. So we were supposed to, get an ensemble of musicians. We choose our repertoire, and then we had to sing in front of strangers, not only at uni. So you have to, get up on stage and sing in front of whoever is there at that bar. So that would be every 2 months. So I would make sure I get to know who's running the bar now. So I can, exchange numbers or show them my Instagram. Oh, this is what I do. If you need, a Latina singer, I sing in English, I sing in Spanish. And it's a bit of like, they would text me DM me on Instagram, and then I would approach them as well. Maybe email, or I would DM on the Instagram account. So it's a bit of both things. You have to go and look for it, and then things come to your way as well.
Awesome. So it sounds like from that time when you did the St. Kilda Festival, it just, kept spinning, and then it's okay. Wow. That's amazing.
It was cool.
You touched on something that I wanted to ask, because as you know, lots of my listeners, they are either enjoying listening to the podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in, for watching the video. Don't forget to let me know in the comments what you think, or in Spotify. But you mentioned singing in English and in Spanish.
Yeah.
A part of me thought, okay, and that was like one of my next questions. How did you deal with that? Or did you start only with singing in Spanish? Mm-hmm. Or did you do like both simultaneously? How was that? Because, when you think about it, most of students, friends, we freak out just from being in a different country speaking English. And then you're like raising up the bar. It's like, okay, I feel a bit uncomfortable talking in another language, not my mother tongue.
Yeah.
But now I'm gonna do that singing. How was that? Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah. I would tell this, and it's the opposite. I would say I'm the opposite of what everyone is expecting in that sense, because
Let's see.
I learned English by listening to music. So I never had any lessons. I didn't study English at all. So I learned because I was obsessed. This is my story. My friends are gonna laugh if they watch this. I was obsessed with the Backstreet Boys, the Spice Girls, Britney Spears. So I would always listen to music in English when I was growing up. So I was like, I need to know what they're saying on the lyrics. So I need to learn English. And I got obsessed with learning English, and because I wanted to sing those songs. I would say Britney Spears, and I'll be like, oh my God, I need to know what she's saying, and I need to dance like her, and, know the lyrics. So I learned my English. So when I came here, I was like, I know all the songs, and usually the songs that the teachers would choose for assessment, I would know them. They were like, I don't know, like Tracy Chapman or whatever. You have to learn something specific from every genre, and I knew the songs. But then when I was writing, I write songs. When I was writing songs, they would assess me like in my songwriting skills and stuff. I would write in English, which I always did when I was younger. But then my teacher would come and be like, why don't you write in Spanish? And I was like, oh, are they so bad? And he's like, no, but I want to know like how you behave in Spanish. And I was like, oh, okay. So I was kind of like, I know what I'm doing in English. I'm fine. But then they pushed me to kind of accept that I'm Latina. I wasn't like, oh, no, I'm not Latina. Everyone knew I'm happy to be a Latina, but I was like merging, with my environment. And then they said, this is your, the X factor. You're different because you are Latina, and that's a good thing. So we want to hear you. And I was like, so in my assessment, they would request at least one Latin song. And I was like, okay, this is so much fun, because there was no Latin there, me and my Colombian friend. So we were like having so much fun. It was like, okay, let's do, the English bit, and then the Latin stuff, we would put like the best, the best show. So it was fun because my mind was like set on English, but then they pushed me to like, this is you.
That's so
You're both.
interesting because, I mean, now that you say this, I guess that lots of musicians or singers maybe, I mean, obviously, wait, before I tell you what I was
Yeah.
about to say, do you feel more comfortable in English or in Spanish, or do you think it's up to the point where it's about the same?
I think it's about the same because, like I said, I grew up listening to music in English because that was my taste, but my mom would always put like Spanish music at home. So my dad would listen to English music and my mom would listen to like Spanish music or Latin music. So I feel like it's 50-50.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Because I was going to say that, probably for, I suppose, most musicians in any language realm, it would be like, I would rather sing in my mother tongue.
Yeah,
But
it's
probably,
easier.
but probably in your case, because you've listened so much to music in English, then maybe it comes as second nature.
I think it does because, like I said, I learned English because I was obsessed with this music. So my favorite artists are like Adele, Christina Aguilera, and like I said, Britney. So all the music that I want to sing is usually in English. But then I came to Australia and I found myself missing the Latin groove. And I remember like feeling, okay, like there's something missing. And then I started following those artists that were like, they were coming up like in reggaeton or whatever, the new music. And I was like, okay, I need to know what's happening in my culture because I'm too much in, in English or Australian music. So I started missing that part of myself because in my country, I already had it. I would dance salsa, merengue every week. So I didn't miss it. But then I found myself here like needing to listen to that music, to understand my roots as well. So I did a lot of researching. We can talk about that later.
Oh, wow.
About
Nice.
Venezuelan music. I got to the point where I wanted to do a tribute to Simon Diaz, which I did. And
Oh.
I was so afraid because I didn't know anything about it. Like I didn't know anything about joropo. Like I listened to it, but I had no idea how difficult and how amazing it was.
By the way, Simon Diaz is an icon in Venezuelan music, and I would go as far as saying that almost any Venezuelan would have heard at
Yes.
least his name or
Yes.
know.
Yes. And it's like a traditional music. So like I said, at home, my dad would listen to, I don't know, Louis Armstrong and blah, blah, blah. My mom would be like Simon Diaz, Serenata Guayanesa, and all the traditional Venezuelan artists. So when I was here, I started missing that, like missing all the Latin music. So I kind of merged my act with like English and Spanish. So every time I sing, I would do both languages.
That's
And-
awesome. And I think it's a good reminder because it's not exactly the same thing, but I normally tell students, I mean, you know how there is this idea of, okay, I'm in Australia, so I'm gonna like avoid Latinos or I'm
Yeah,
only gonna
yeah.
talk in English. But then
Yeah.
I tell students, look, there has to be a bit of a balance
Yes.
because, I mean, there's nothing wrong if you want to do it, but it shouldn't be to the point like I'm gonna avoid.
Yeah.
And it sounds like in your case, it just came natural in the sense of, okay, I'm in Australia, so I'm gonna try to adapt
Yeah.
as best as I can.
Yes.
And then you had like that push of, hey, but this is pretty cool.
Yeah. I think you have to adapt. Like, I am not, like, I didn't come with that in mind. Like, I was like, I'm going to try to adapt because I'm moving to another country. I'm not going to be like, oh, I'm Venezuelan and I do what Venezuelans do. No, you live in a different country, so you have to adapt. But at the same time, don't lose yourself. Like, it's really hard. You are who you are. You have to be proud of where you come from, even if it's like a really hard, upbringing or whatever. But like, just remember who you are, and you're in a different country. Adapt, learn the language. Don't be lazy, but still, you can be yourself. And like, being yourself is cool. Like, even with your accent and everything, you are really cool.
Well, thank you. Because sometimes, if I say it, maybe it's going to be, I don't know, boring or people may not take it. So I really appreciate you brought that up because that's such a big thing.
Yeah.
Talking about languages, random question.
Yeah.
Have you ever been asked to sing Despacito?
Of course.
Because that's my go-to joke whenever I'm with only Aussies or
Yeah.
non-Latinos. It's like, oh, I think I want to learn Spanish. And I'm like, mate, you have to. Listen to Despacito. I mean, you can,
Yeah.
you get to sing Despacito like a pro.
Yes, yes, 100%. I sang Despacito so many times. People will request it. Like, it's when it was really, really big in Australia, I was shocked. I was like, oh my God, okay, Latin music, like, it's getting
This is
out of
my
control.
chance.
This is my chance. But I was already making like Latin music, which was fun. But people will request it. Like, I remember I did like an EP pre-launch. So when EP is like I do like 5 songs. You record 5 songs like to introduce it basically to the world. So it's like a short, how would you say, like a short
Disc
thing of
record?
a CD. Yeah, like a short record. So I remember doing like a EP pre-launch from my music, and at the end I had to close the show with Despacito, and in Spanglish, of course. So I had to do the
Oh,
Justin Bieber
wow.
part and the Luis Fonsi part. It was so much fun, and people got crazy. Like when I started singing that song, everyone was like, "What?" Yeah, because I was singing in English and Spanish. I wrote songs in both languages. So I was like, okay, this is trendy. This is fun. I'm gonna end up with Despacito.
In that specific, let's say, gig when you were, performing, where was it? Was this like at a big party? Was it in a big restaurant, or I don't know, in a bar, in a pub?
Yeah, it was like a cocktail bar, like a small cocktail bar. It was very intimate. I think there were around 60 people, I would say. And yeah, it was so much fun. It was just me and my guitar player and just singing some covers and originals. It was fun. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And
a long time ago.
and are you planning to get back into it, or are you still doing this?
Well, so
In
now,
case someone is interested,
Yes,
we might
so-
as well mention it now.
yeah, of course I am. I'm always singing, like forever and ever. I'm always singing. Now I had a baby recently, 2 months ago. But I'm getting back to music.
Ah, there we go.
Actually, I'm joining this. It's a secret project. I can't say anything right now, but I'm joining this tribute band very soon, and I'm very excited. Very good project, and I always sing. Like I always get hired for like small events, private events, like where I sing covers, or sometimes people like for my originals, which is funny because I only launched one, but they say, I know you have more, so you have to sing your songs, and I'm like, okay. So sometimes they request originals and covers. So yeah.
I haven't hired a musician yet, but a part of me thinks probably the cool thing about the original is that nobody knows about it.
Yeah.
So it has that surprise, the element of surprise.
Yes, and it's cool because I'm always telling a story. Like if you write songs, you're telling stories, and when people ask me like, what does that mean? Like where did that come from? I'm like, oh, that's a personal thing. Or maybe I'm writing because someone told me this story and I get to, talk about it. It's not mine, but I get to talk about it. So it's really fun. I love it. And people love to hear it because it's something that they might be, they might be like, oh, I want the goss. And I mean, it's not my story, it's someone else's, but it's fun. You tell stories about something that happened to you or to someone else.
Talking about, say, for example, you just mentioned a cocktail bar.
Yeah.
You already talked about St. Kilda Festival. I
Yes.
have to drop the bomb.
Yeah, go for
So
it.
I think one of the, I don't know if this is probably the peak, let's
Yeah.
say, but basically you got to perform in Rotleva Arena.
Yes.
And for those of you who don't know, Rotleva Arena is basically where we've got the tennis final,
Yes.
big bands like Bon Jovi and what was Taylor Swift, or maybe I'm wrong, maybe it was in MCG.
No, MCG.
But still, it's like a really
Yeah.
big music.
Yeah, it's a big stadium, so they do like big gigs over there.
So I thought, when I saw it, I was already interested in having you in, and I thought, okay, when it comes to motivation, there is nothing more than this. This is crazy good.
It was huge. It was huge for me. Like, it was very exciting. Like I said, I made a video and I said, manifesting, it's good. Do it. If you don't believe in it, take my word for it. I always told my husband, like, I'm going to perform at the Rotleva. I don't know how. I don't know when. I don't know how it's going to happen, but I'm going to play there. And he's like, yeah, cool. So what happened was, like I said, networking and getting your personal brand out there, it's so important. So networking is really important. So this friend just called me and say, hey, I have this gig. They're looking for a singer. It has to be you. And I was like, what? Like, are you kidding me? And I had my baby already, like the other baby. I have 2 babies. So I remember with my toddler, and I was like on the phone, like, oh my God, yes, 100% yes, I want to do this. So he didn't tell me what it was. Then he said, someone's going to contact you and tell you everything. And what was is like, I had to sing Venezuelan's national anthem in front of all Australia, basically.
Whoa.
And that was a huge thing for me because I was like, oh my God, I'm going to sing my anthem in front of like my new country, let's say it like that. Like, so it was like a very interesting. First of all, it was exciting because I get to sing at the Rotleva, but the meaning behind it, like I get to represent Venezuela at the road label. That for me was like mind blowing. So that's what happened.
Wow. How was that? That's just crazy. How did you feel when, you got the phone call or the email? Because maybe, by then you would have been rather comfortable going out, putting yourself out there, performing in different stages. And then when you see, how was your reaction when you saw the name Rotleva Arena?
I was shocked and excited, and I said like, I have to do this, because the thing is, I don't have a nanny. I think my toddler wasn't at daycare at the time. I don't remember, but the problem was like, what am I gonna do with the baby? Like, I need to take this gig. It's like it's my dream to sing there. So I was too excited, as you can see. I was like, okay, this is the top of my list, so I have to say yes, and I did at the end. So it was very rewarding because, like I said, I got to see. So at the end, it was like a basketball event. I don't know how to call it. I'm sorry, it was a basketball event. So Venezuelan team was playing against Australian team. So I asked the producer of the event, I was like, oh, how many people, like roughly? She's like, oh, it's been empty, so might be around, I don't know, 3,000. And then when I got up on stage, there were 10,000 people at the stadium.
Wow.
Like my biggest gig so far. And I was fine. I was like, oh yeah. And then when I stand there and I sang, I got so nervous because I got emotional. I was like, I'm singing for Venezuela in Australia.
No, of course. I'll tell you something. I wanted to ask, but I was like, did you cry? Did you not cry? don't feel free to, tell us with as little or as much detail. But yeah, that's just crazy good.
It is. It was very special. I was about to cry, and then I remember, be professional, don't cry. And I was like, my voice broke. I was like, no, you need to keep going. And then I was like, a few seconds, I was like, okay, focus. And I kept singing. But yeah, it was very emotional. Like, I didn't think it was going to be that emotional, but like when I was there in front of that people and I could see, there were some like Aussie like ministers, or I don't know. And when I saw myself there, and I thought, this is important. Like, this is important for Australia, but it's important to me as well. Like, looking at all these people, I could hear some people screaming my name because, Melbourne is small. Some Venezuelans were there watching the actual game, not myself. So I was like, oh my God, this is big. And I got emotional, but then it worked out.
This just reminds me when students would give a presentation in class, and I mean, let's put it this way. People freak out in class.
Yeah,
and this
exactly.
is with me, and I'm a friendly teacher, and it's with all their friends. You were in front of over 5,000, well, maybe, and a few people that strangers.
Yes.
People you have never met.
Yes.
And that's crazy. I mean, I would say that most people, students, are usually very excited, happy, and proud to talk a bit about, places in the country, traditional meals, food. So think about it. If you're Latino, if you're like from Venezuela, Colombia, talking about arepas, how much you love your traditional dishes or traditional or main, let's say, touristic spots.
Yeah.
But then doing this is probably quite similar, I would say, or like a similar, let's say, feeling, I suppose, because it's what you said, you're representing your country.
Yeah, I think that was the biggest thing for me because, of course, I wanted to sing at the Road Labor no matter what. Like, I didn't care because it was like a milestone to be on a big stage. So I didn't plan for it. I just say that, I'm going to be, the next Shakira, but in Australia, and I would sing at the Road Labor. That was my mentality, right? But the thing is, manifesting, because I didn't manifest like exactly what I wanted. Life gave it to me, but in a different way. And I couldn't expect this. Like, it was way better than I thought because, like he's saying, like representing my country, like in Australia, my other country, was big. So I said, I have to do this right. I have to do it with so much love, with, passion. So people who are in Venezuela feel proud, and who are anywhere from Venezuela, they feel proud, but mostly who are living in Australia, they feel proud of being Venezuelan in Australia. So it was a lot of pressure,
True.
But I felt so happy, even though my voice broke.
It's this podcast is not about politics, but I also have to mention this, especially for Venezuela. I think like all the countries, I always tell this joke in class. It's like when students talk about, for example, Colombia is not that good. I'm like, mate, For me, Colombia is USA.
Oh, yeah,
because
100%.
because of or Australia, because
Yeah.
of the way Venezuela is right now. And that is to say that Venezuela over the past at least 10 to 15 years, could be more anyways.
Yeah.
But it's like it's not been through the best time in history.
Yes, correct.
It's been very tough time. So whenever there is a chance to do something like this, it's just it's unreal. It's extremely
Yeah.
good.
It is, and it makes you feel proud. Like I said, you come where you come from, so you can't change that. You can adapt to where you live, and it's good to have, Aussie friends, Aussie partners, whatever, but you still are who you are. So I felt like incredibly like proud of myself, but like proud of my country as well. And I felt lucky like that I get asked to do this. So
It's also like putting Venezuela on the map, and I would go as far as saying not just Venezuela, like South America.
Yeah.
Because for South Central America, you know what I mean, guys. Basically, the Spanish and Portuguese speaking world. Thank you, my Brazilians, if you're watching. Because it's like sometimes the idea of, or what people have the notion of where we are from is very limited, because
Yeah.
there are not, while there is a huge South American community compared to, like, say, for example, Asia, South
Yeah.
Asia, Europe is nowhere near the same.
no.
So getting that chance for people to go, oh yeah, Venezuela, where is that? No idea.
Yeah.
And then, oh, cool. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, like some people have told me like, oh yeah, so when do you fly to Spain? And I'm like, okay, no, Venezuela is not in Spain, or like Italy. And I'll be like, I don't look Italian. But when I say Venezuela, they don't know. I think throughout the years, it got better. Like people were like, oh yeah, Venezuela. Oh yeah, Venezuela. You get that response a lot. So they know a bit more. But when I first came here, no one knew where we were from. So
Like I said, not much politics, but yeah, same thing. When I came here, everyone would tell me, oh, Chavez, I love
yeah.
Chavez.
And you're like, no,
I was like, bro, I'm here because of him.
because of him.
But hey, that's a different story.
Different story.
That's an episode on its own.
Yeah.
But the point is that, especially when with Venezuela, because it went through so many negative things, it was always like, oh, when people hear about it, it's like, oh.
Yeah, like sad faces.
Exactly. So I guess at least having, and this is also like a big thing in, I would go as far as saying South American culture, where despite adversity, challenges, it's like we always try to, put a smile on our face, do our best, and getting to perform, it's just unreal.
Yeah, it was unreal, and I felt really proud. Like not only, like I said, on a personal level and professional, but yeah, like I think as a group, I was like, okay, I'm here for my Venezuelans. I love you all, whatever you are. If you're here, Spain, whatever, Colombia, anywhere you are, I feel pride, and I'm doing this for all of us. That's how I felt. It sounds really romantic, but that's how I felt.
After hearing your story in Rotleva, a part of me thinks, is there anything, you mentioned manifesting, setting up your goals. What's next? Are you planning to go on the same stage as Britney? I don't know, because
Yes.
it's so huge. Or are you going to the opera house or anything in mind?
Goodness. Well, I want everything, of course. My friends at uni, the Aussie friends, they would call me Cayonce, because I was like, this is something like we are very full on. Latinos, we like, I don't know, we make a lot of noise, we like colors, we are like full on. So when they would perform, they'll be like so simple, like, oh, just a guitar and very relaxed. And I'll be like dancers and lights and change costumes. So they would call me Cayonce. But that's something I feel like I want to be the next thing. And honestly, I'm not obsessed with it because I'm focused on my mom life and blah, blah, blah. But I won't put limits to myself, If that happened to me when I was being a mom, by the way, I wasn't active like in music when I get this call to sing at the road label. I wasn't active on my social media at the time. Like I would post pictures of my baby or whatever, but I wasn't singing like as I used to. And I still got this call. And I'm going to share something important about this. Very personal, but I'm going to share it. I was at the point where I thought like, oh, maybe I won't do music as much because I became a mom and it's really hard and I don't have the time nor the energy to, get up on stage or, set a repertoire or write new songs. I felt like down at that moment. And I was like, oh, yeah, maybe I won't be a singer anymore. I'll be like, I don't know, someone who sings at a bar here and there and blah, blah, blah. And I get this call, I would say, a week after that thought came to my mind.
Oh, damn.
And that was life telling me, you don't get to choose, woman. You don't get to choose. We choose for you. I would say God called me and told me this. you don't get to choose. Like sometimes we want to go a certain way, but then universe, God, or life has other plans. So I was thinking, I was in my low version that week, and I get this call, and that was a game changer for me, because I said, like, you know what, stop thinking that way. It doesn't matter if you're a mom, it doesn't matter that your circumstance, it doesn't matter if you don't have the visa yet, it doesn't matter what's your stage at the moment, you still can do big things. And that was a reminder of not quitting on my dream, basically.
And probably it's also a good reminder to continue doing things that you like, because you just never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think documenting, right? Because you touched up earlier on posting on social media, but I think this is also like a great time to come back to that, because if you hadn't been active, or if you hadn't put anything at all, it would have been really hard for someone or for this person to give you a call. It's like, I know this person. I mean, and sometimes people may not be checking how often you post or things like this.
Mm-hmm.
Or, I mean, obviously there are times where people do notice, but in general, it's like, I suppose, better to have something that that not having anything, right?
Yes, 100%. Like I said, be your best cheerleader, because like if you don't promote yourself, who's going to do it? Like, you're not going to promote me just because the sake of it. Like, you just have to believe that what you want is achievable and go for it, because it's not going to happen like, tomorrow. But step by step, you get closer and closer. You get to know people. You get to do, you get more experience. And then you end up doing something you really want.
Before my next follow-up question, I have to say thank you so much for your support, because I was going to say who's going to, cheer up for you, who's going to support you. And thank you guys, because you have been listening to the podcast. You were asking me, hey, teacher, maybe you should do a video podcast.
That's
so
cool.
And I never, ever thought of doing this on video. And look, here we are.
That's awesome.
And it's exactly to the point with what you're saying. Like sometimes, yes, you have to believe in yourself, but then sometimes life, whatever we want to call it, the stars, Buddha, Allah, chakras, and it's gonna push you into trying these new things. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I think, this is something like, I think this, maybe I'm not right, but this is a thought. We were all born with certain talent. So you have a talent specifically, you have a gift, right? That's what I think. Everyone has a gift, and you were given that gift for whatever reason. I don't know why. So I think when you stay true to that gift is when you are happier and when everything works out in life. So, but it's not the reality. Like usually we are doing million things that are not our gift, and then you feel sad. You feel like, this is not what I should be doing, just because like you don't have to do it 100%. You can do maybe 1% of that thing you like or that thing you wish to do, and then slowly you will build up, and have more time. I remember someone, he's an amazing musician, like an instrumentalist. And he asked me like, Karen, like, how do you do it? How do you do music? Like, how do you still work and do music at the same time? Because I had a job before that wasn't related to music. And I was like, listen, music is my life. So I need to keep doing this. Even if it's just 5% of my time, 1%, I have to do it, because otherwise you die a little bit inside. So if you can't do what you want to do 100%, just do a tiny percent. And I think that will help you to, feel happier.
Damn, that's so true and so valuable, because there will be times when, say for example, if you leave your country where you may not have as much spare time to do that thing you like, but always trying to find a way to, maybe it doesn't have to be like it was in your country. I mean, if it is, fantastic.
Amazing,
but I guess putting yourself in a position where you at least keep that going, because then it's not like, life is horrible, this and that, but it's more like, it is not amazing, but let's try to, get something good out of the bad. Yeah,
and try to do as much as you can, because if that makes you happy, or if that's your goal, then you can't just leave it on the side. Like it's not negotiable. It shouldn't be negotiable, even if you don't have something specific you need to, because usually we want things certain way, and then we don't think that, okay, maybe I can do this in a different way. Not exactly the way I want it, but I'm going to start this, I don't know, with just a little bit, just a little grain of
And,
sand.
and talking about doing things, getting started, you touched up on your personal brand.
Yes.
And you said that you do other things outside of music production.
Yeah.
Could you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah.
Because
So,
maybe someone watching is like, look, this sounds amazing. I want to get in touch with Karen, but tell me more.
Yes.
What do you do? So please tell us.
okay, like I say, I studied communications and media, so I have a lot of experience, like back in Venezuela and in Australia, in marketing. So I focus on marketing. I manage, let's say, when I started working with social media, people didn't believe in social media. I work, Venevisión. I work for Venevisión, yes.
No way.
And this is a big broadcaster in Venezuela.
This is like Channel 9 in Venezuela.
yeah, exactly.
Wow.
So I worked in this department that was called alt media. So social media wasn't recognized as a proper, I don't know, like news channel, or it wasn't important back then. I think it was 2010 or something like that. So I remember we were this department far away from, the main building, and we would do social media for the TV shows and for everything. I would go to, the what's the word for it? When they were recording, filming this.
Like the studio?
The studio. I will go to a studio of certain, I don't know, show, and I'll take pictures, take videos behind the scenes, and then post them on social media. That was my job. And they were like, oh, yeah, they are from, the social media thing. What's that? So they didn't know. They had no idea how big this was going to be. So I was working there, but no one believed in it. So I have a lot of experience in social media and marketing, digital marketing. So when I came, I'm going to tell the story. When I came to Australia, right, I was studying music, doing my thing, did the St. Kilda Fest. When I was doing all this, my friends would ask me, how can I have my brand the way you have it? Because that's helping you get gigs. That's helping you connect with other people. So I was like, oh, yeah, sure. Let's do this. I would book sessions with my friends at uni, and I would take photos for them. I would talk about, let's say, what's your branding, like how you want to look like. And I would do this kind of like audit for their brand. And then I realized, oh my God, I can help people. So I opened a different Instagram account, not my personal, where I would share tips to get your brand on social media.
Oh,
so
okay.
yeah, Instagram tips, like that was ages ago, like I don't know, probably 2012, 13, I don't know. So like for free, I didn't want anything with it. I was just like helping my friends, my musician friends, to get out there. So I would share some content about marketing and social media, blah blah blah. And then people started calling me like, how much would you charge for a like personalized session? I was like, nothing, you're my friend. And they're like, no, I want to pay you because I want to take this seriously and blah, blah. And then I realized, okay, this is a business. And I'm not making it a business because I'm working and I have my music life. So when I realized I could help people and I could do something I like, which was social media, I decided to quit my job. And then I created my own brand, which is not personal brand, but it's my other brand. So I treated it as an agency at first. I did some kind of coaching, then I changed it, and it's been a lot. It's a lot going on in that brand. So what I basically do now is I help people build their brands on the digital world and how to monetize them. That's what I do now.
Wow.
So my music got me through this, like helped me to find this new venture, let's say.
And do you have any, let's say, stages where sometimes you're like more into musician mode and then other times you fall into, let's say, this more marketing or coaching type of role? Or do you like both of them equally?
Oh, no, not equally. Like 100% music, it's up here, and then marketing is up here.
Oh, I thought you would say, okay.
Yeah, no, music, it's the main thing for me. But I do this because if I'm not working, let's say I'm a mom now, so I don't have time to go at night and, have many gigs every week. So this is the other job I have. So I help people build their brands. During the day, I get to choose my hours. So it's very flexible. And that's basically what I'm doing for myself. I help people to do. So, okay, how to find more time and how do you organize yourself? How can you put yourself out there so people get to know your brand? I focus a lot on personal branding because that's what I know the most by experience of like in myself and my brand, but experience in working back in Venezuela and working in Australia. So that's what I'm focused because I'm passionate about personal branding. But if you are, let's say, a business and you want help, I still can do it and I love it.
Is there much difference when, let's say, someone has got a business and then when someone doesn't have a business? Or there could be like a professional who wants to pursue something, right? Like, let's say, for example, there might be a musician who wants to find gigs, or let's say someone who wants to, I don't know, get more piano lessons or something. Would that be also a personal brand, right?
Yes. So, for example, I have a friend. She is a psychologist. So I help her develop her brand. But in the psychology world, it's very delicate. So you shouldn't promote yourself and give advice on social media because that's not legal. You can't give the same advice to everyone if you're a psychologist, right? So we kind of were looking away that she could post on social media and promote herself without giving advice or without basically, using therapy. So we did that. Then we have another friend. She has this business. Let's say she's a coach as well, but it's not a marketing coach. She's more like a life coach. So I have helped people who like are using their face or their selves to promote a business. But also if you have a business, let's say I was managing someone who's a dentist, but they don't want to show their face. So they have to show the business. So you show the kind of the business side, not the personal side. So I don't want to share my personal life. It's a different approach than someone who it's a personal brand and has to share more about their life, what they do, their dreams. So it's a different approach. But yeah, I'm passionate about both. It's so much fun.
Damn, this is awesome. Well, guys, if you want to get in touch, there's going to be your Instagram is going to be in the description, email. And is that the best way to get in touch?
Yeah, Instagram is a good way. I'm always there.
Okay, so there you go. Instagram, it's the way. If you're on Facebook, download Instagram as well.
No, you can get my email. I can give you emails and Instagram and all my social media. They all link to each other, so it should be fine.
Karen, it's been an amazing interview. We're getting close to the end. I'm going to pass the stage to you in just a second. And I'm just really curious. You touched up in so many things. And, Australia, it's now April. So the laws are changing in Australia. People are worried about whether they stay, they go. Yeah. And, lots of people are coming to the country. I always like to finish up the episode with, let's say, your final message.
Okay.
And anything you would like to share or like a summary, up to you. Anything you would like to say to our listeners?
Okay, yes. 2 things. First of all, if you want to do something, the only thing between that thing you want in yourself is yourself. So go for it. Like I said, be your own cheerleader and trust that the talent that you have is worthy of good things. So go for them. Also, in terms of learning English, stop being so shy, because I have so many friends that they don't want to talk, they don't want to approach someone because they feel silly. They feel oh no, they're going to laugh about my accent. Don't be ashamed of where you come from, because it is your X factor, let's say. It is what makes you unique. So go for it. Talk to people. It doesn't matter if they're Australian, if they are from Singapore, if they're from Italy, it doesn't matter. Just go and approach someone and do a lot of networking. Like I said, you never know who's listening. You never know who's going to open the next door for you. And why I say this, not only because networking will get you places. Yes, we all know that. But because maybe a stranger that saw that X factor that you have and you didn't even realize, that person is going to change your life. So I would say don't be shy. Forget about your accent. And if you want to improve your accent, it's very easy. Keep studying, practicing. That's the only way you're going to change your accent. But saying this, you don't have to change it. You're cool as you are. You just have to improve your English, let's say, improve your pronunciation.
Awesome. Well, look, that's just so good. Thank you so much, Karen. And there you go. So amazing tips, putting yourself out there. I like that phrase, being your own cheerleader.
Yeah, it's important, because if you don't push yourself, who's gonna be there telling you, oh, do this, do that?
True. Look, I think that's so powerful. I think that could be an episode on its own.
Yeah.
I'm asking you in front of everyone. Is it cool if I just borrow that phrase and make an
Yes.
episode on my own?
Yes,
talking
you can
about
do
it?
that.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you. I'll be, putting all the
the credits.
Exactly. This was told. Karen that told me this. Da-da-da. Awesome.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much for having me. It's been so much fun. And I'm here to help. Anything like you guys need. I'm always, like, my door is always open for, advice or, some words of encouragement.
Awesome. Well, there you know. If you want to get in touch, you know how to get in touch. And needless to say, thank you so much for being here with us. If it is on YouTube, don't forget to like the video. If you want to pass IELTS and PTE, if you subscribe to the channel, you get extra points. And if you're listening on Spotify, yes, if you give me a 5 stars, you're gonna get extra points in the exam as well.
You're gonna pass the IELTS.
Exactly. And look, thank you, because as you said, and we talked a bit about this, life is really busy. So you put time off your day to come and join us and to basically check out Karen's experience. It's been amazing. Thank you so much. Maybe it wasn't your commute, maybe you were at home, or maybe you were working. I don't know. We were part of your day. So once again, thank you so much. Karen, it's been amazing. I would love to, have a part 2.
Yeah.
Probably in the future, because,
sure.
maybe when you get 2 toddlers.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Too much work.
Awesome. Well, thank you so
you.
much. Take care and bye for now.
Bye.
I'll see you in the next episode.